Hi, I'm Erik Linask from TMC, and I'm here with Ingate Systems President Steve Johnson, and we're here for the latest session in Ingate's web series knowledge base. Today, we're here with Steve to talk about SIP trunking. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Erik.
So, Steve, tell us about really the basics of SIP trunking. I guess, it's certainly one of the hottest topics today. Why? Why is it?
Well, SIP trunking offers companies, enterprises of all sizes, some tremendous benefits as we go forward into the new world of communications that go beyond what we have become used to with the public switch telephone network of old. SIP trunking is, in my opinion, and I've said this a lot, a catalyst for people, enterprises particularly, to adopt SIP and voice over IP as a new way of communications, which eventually will lead to many other different applications than we're currently used to, including video on the desktop, file sharing, and things that we probably even haven't thought about yet. But to come back to SIP trunking offers companies a number of benefits that are not available with the older telephony systems that we've all been used to. Among them, and I think probably for our audience, the most important today is a very good ROI. We have examples of our customers who have demonstrated payback in less than a year and 40 to 60% return on investment because of the benefits and the cost savings that they've realized through SIP trunking. And these are real numbers with real companies. Some of that benefit comes from the fact that you can get better rates for long distance calls because the SIP trunking service providers are giving you better access to networks and terminating those calls closer to the called party. Some of the benefits are coming because people can consolidate their telephony infrastructure in one location instead of having to build it out in multiple places, and bring all of their trunks, all of their phone calls, no matter what area code the dial number might be in, to one centralized location. That saves a lot of money, and it provides a better way for people to logistically manage what they have. They can also have a single network. Until today, we've had to have a telephony network, so you have wires through the walls and coming into your building from the telephone company. You have had to have a data network for all of your internet traffic, all coming through the same walls. With SIP trunking, you can use one network for everything. That saves a lot of money, it saves a lot of maintenance, it saves a lot of equipment purchase. And finally, you can do moves, adds, and changes basically by unplugging the phone from one jack and plugging it into another one. You've moved your office. And you can actually, with SIP today over the internet, you can actually work from home and appear to your customers and other colleagues as if you're in the office and gain all the benefits you can get from the PBX in your primary office as if you were sitting there. It's an amazing enhancement and evolution in the way we communicate.
But certainly the cost savings are a huge factor. You're right, in particular today. But what about the call quality? That's certainly another key concern, especially in the business world. What kind of call quality can folks achieve?
Well, again, we have a lot of examples of companies who have implemented SIP trunking, and all of them report that the call quality is equal to, and in some cases better than, what they had seen previously. As a personal example, my company, as you know, is headquartered in Stockholm, Sweden, and I live in Hollis, New Hampshire. And there's a 3,000-mile jump between here and there, and God knows how many jumps there are across the internet to get there. The voice quality when I speak to my boss over SIP on a daily basis is phenomenally clear, and it's as like he's sitting in the next room. It's really good. And if you take the appropriate actions in your own network to ensure that there are no bottlenecks, if you want to put a quality of service component at the front end to make sure that voice gets priority over other applications, you can ensure yourself a very sound quality of service and a very good quality of sound.
Oh, that's great. And again, those are the two key components, I think, for most businesses today. For the folks that joined you down in Miami at IT Expo earlier this year for your SIP trunking seminars. One of the things that you talked about was the rather remarkable ROI that was achieved by a dental network called Cool Smiles. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, that's what I was referring to earlier, and they did realize a 40 to 60% savings. They have a number of dental practices around the country, and previously they had multiple services coming into each one of those locations, and they had equipment at each site, and they really weren't doing things in a very efficient manner. They were able to basically rip out everything they had, invest in a brand new IP PBX, install the appropriate equipment necessary to bring in the SIP trunks to that location, and the phones and the desktops of their people, and they did realize a 40 to 60% savings. They actually paid back about a $350,000 investment in this new equipment. They paid that all back in less than 12 months. That is the kind of thing that people and enterprises across the nation are reporting that they can do. And for small businesses that may not have that sort of scale, there are enough products on the market at the low end, and there are enough savings that can be realized by using a SIP trunking service provider that those kinds of numbers can be realized no matter how big you are as a company.
Good. Speaking of those SIP trunking service providers, do they deliver their services, or do they have to deliver their services over the public internet, or are there different ways that they can provide those services to their business customers?
There are actually two major ways they can do it, and let's just step back because I want to describe and show in the graphic that we're going to present here what actually is going on in a SIP trunking service. Up until now, there have been a lot of people who have used voice over IP and various types of protocols, but they've basically used it inside their building or inside their campus or within the islands of their enterprise. And they have used what is known as a gateway to the public switch telephone network, a PSTN gateway, to go from IP to the TDM, which is used over the public switch telephone network. And that has been the way people have been doing telephony now for some time. What SIP trunking does is it eliminates the PSTN gateway at your enterprise site, eliminating a cost, eliminating maintenance, eliminating an interface to another party. The second thing that happens is you now connect to a SIP trunking service provider who is actually the one that is going to put the phone calls onto the PSTN, but is going to do so at a location that is closest to the dialed party. So they take responsibility for routing the calls off to the PSTN, and you avoid that headache or that concern. They also can provide to you dial-in numbers, direct inward dialing numbers from almost any location in the country, and in some cases, depending on the service provider, can actually do that for people outside of the country. So for an example, you could have a local number in, say, the UK that would ring in your office in New York, or vice versa. Those are the kind of things you can accomplish with SIP trunking. Now, to come back to your question, Eric, you can do this over the public internet. The public open internet is a medium on which you can deliver or take SIP trunks. You need to take the appropriate precautions, which is going to be the subject of a later one of these videos, to make sure that you retain the control and security over your network, but that can be accomplished with products like those offered by Ingate. There is also the ability to have SIP trunks delivered to you by some service providers over a managed connection, which means that the service provider is controlling the connection all the way from his point of presence to your building. That accomplishes a couple of things. One, it assures you that there is good quality on that line, that they maintain that line and you're not subject to the vagaries of the public internet. And you have the ability, therefore, to sign up for a service level agreement with that provider. It may be more expensive, and it also may require that you do certain things at your network to ensure that you can integrate all of the types of devices that you would like to have access to the SIP trunking service, like soft clients on your laptop, or video cameras, or data files that can be shared across using SIP as the medium. But all of those things can be done, and again, you can have the delivery over the public internet, which gives you a somewhat less expensive service but less controlled, or over a managed connection, which gives you more control at somewhat higher prices.
Good. Thanks, Steve. We've been talking with Steven Johnson, Ingate Systems President, today about SIP trunking in this week's Ingate Knowledge Base session. Now that you know a little bit about the different flavors of SIP and how SIP trunking can not only reduce costs and complexity, but provide you the call quality that businesses are looking for today, join us for next week's session when we'll talk about network address translation with Steve Johnson. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
For more information, go to www.ingate.com. Scroll over the Resources tab and select White Papers. From this location, you could download a number of informative documents to learn more about SIP.